to another electrifying episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder from NEC Question, coming to you live from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado, joined by my awesome co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. King James Stallcup, over there in Big Sky Country, Texas, giving all hook 'em horns, hook 'em baby, from the Mile High City. So really awesome having you guys join us every week. Don't forget, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Get us to 500, everyone. We're getting close to 500, so that's really cool to get us up in there. Look who we have already up in the chat. We have Mr. E. David Englehart, Electrical Wizardry, in the house. And yeah, dude, we got some nerding up to do this week, and it was really funny because I just covered one that we previously covered, this one, James, on the Myth of the Week, but I just want to do it again. Somebody had reached out to me and said that the home inspector had called him on it and asked me what kind of dangers it was and everything, so I was like, you know what, we'll go ahead and we'll cover it again this week for Myth of the Week. We haven't probably covered it in years, so I figured we'd cover it. And then we have Daniel in the house. What's up? Daniel's coming back for revenge, man. He's got one up on you, bro. Yeah. He got the trivia on Monday, so
yeah.
I think he's back.
I'm so scared.
I think he's back, bro. I think he's coming for blood tonight. I tried to spice it up a little bit. Sorry about the last minute quiz drop on you. I appreciate you putting it together. But Daniel had some crazy things kind of going on. Sound like this is his job site today. So they had all the bigwigs, I guess he said, were out there. They had a concrete operator running one of those great all forklifts, tip it and put it in the ditch. So I guess he was going too fast, got wobbly, and then tipped it over. So he's like, yeah, they got a little egg on their face today. We always say that. It's our little joke. Because one of the companies we work for, they'd be like, do you guys like having egg on your face? And so it was real funny. We just always use that as our little thing. Like, yeah, we got a little egg on our face today, And then keep in mind, King James is getting his links up in here. He's really getting close to having his state approval for the continuing education. I got a lot of people just hit me up like, man, I need that information. So here's the link, and you could follow kind of his progress as far as where he's going with his Learn Worlds and getting stuff together. So he's working on it. He's going to get Colorado first. I told him, get Colorado first, brother, so he's going to get it going.
There's just so much that we got going on, and I've almost completed going through the death match. We're loading up right now, which will be tomorrow. We'll have the new 70E up on the site that we've updated, and it looks fantastic. All those new illustrations and everything. Matter of fact, we may take and do a Sunday reveal of it this coming week, maybe. I got some family in town, so I'm not sure yet. Want to see how long they're staying.
Yeah, I'm kind of booked this Sunday, but
we can do it next Sunday. Or we can do it anytime.
But yeah, Daniel says there was like a topping out party, and they had all the bigwigs there, and then somebody rolls a forklift, so.
That's when you're supposed to always do it, when the bigwigs are there.
Guys out here are clowns. That's so funny. But Daniel knows well that they just, oh man, these guys are clowns over here. But I knew when he was telling me about it, I was like, man, that was an electrician that did that. And he's like, nah, it was a concrete, and those concrete guys are crazy, man. They don't slow down. They were sitting there running around with 2,000 pounds of grout, for the brick and stuff, and lifting it up like real fast and dropping it like. I used to be scared when I'd be up on the scaffold when the brickies were up there, and they'd be dropping that grout up on those platforms. It's like, I don't want to be around when they're dropping that grout. They'd be dropping that grout up there for them, and they just drop them on those planks, and those planks are rated for it, but man, it sways that whole system, that whole scaffold sways, and I'm just like, I'm going over here while you guys do that. I'll
Yeah.
be on a different level. I'm not gonna be around when you guys are doing that. And they drop it on there like pretty heavy, hard, so it's like it rocks that whole scaffold system. And man, those guys are dangerous, man. It scares me. I'm like, nah. I was like, I won't be around when you guys are doing that. I'm not gonna stand right next to that. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go stand on the edge of the building, and then you guys can do your thing, and then I'll come back up. Because you guys don't need me up there right now. But
Well, one of the good things is we actually have another book at Dills OSHA that tells you all about that stuff.
sure.
And we're actually updating that right now too. So
yeah, it was crazy because they actually asked some of those questions in the apprenticeship, and one of my apprentices was like, "Hey, is there a certain width that those planks are required to be?" And usually they're like 8, 10 inches, like, but I guess it is. They have to be like minimum of 6 inches width. And,
sure, we actually go in that publication we have, especially the ones where you're getting into construction and all of that. We actually go in and show where you dig ditches and you got to shore everything up and the barricades. And I mean, we go through all kinds of stuff, and we do a whole thing on all the different ladder safety and all of that. We do things where you're lifting stuff with chains and ropes and stuff, the way you're supposed to do all that. It we put that book together. I actually learned about it. I was like, I don't remember it all.
You knew the ditch digging part pretty good, right?
Yeah,
You're the
I'm a glorified ditch digger
digger
down here in Texas. Yeah, we know all about that. Yeah.
Oh man, we got some good ones up tonight. So I got that audio. It's real short. I think it's like maybe about a minute that you wanted. I actually did record the whole thing last week, and I grabbed the wrong track. So
Okay,
we're gonna play the one from last week. Just King James wants to react to it a little bit, and it's pretty good. It's Tommy D talking about the public input phase of the NEC.
Let's go. I was ready when you told me about it.
All right, so 210.8B, we already talked about the appliance debate.
So I wanted to put in that appliance debate in there. Somehow I didn't get it in, but that was the one where co-making panel 2 basically got rejected for microwaves, cooktops, all that stuff got removed for the 2026 cycle. And they were like, well, we don't think that co-making panel 17 has access to those CSC, those consumer safety reports. And it's like, no, they have access to them, but they realize that it doesn't matter if people are working on their microwave while energized. That's not a reason for a code change.
That's right. As a matter of fact, if it was so important that you had to put it in 210.8D, and you didn't have if you had the technical merit that actually required it, how were they able to remove it the next cycle?
True.
Yeah,
exactly.
They didn't have it. That's
so. I didn't get that in there, but that was what they wanted to do. Is they wanted to add GFCI protection to 422. Was it 4C? 422.5?
No, it was 422.5.
422.5. And they wanted to add GFCI protection for all specific appliances over per code making panel 17. And code making panel 17 said, nah, you guys handle the branch circuit, we handle the specific appliance.
Do you remember when that come out? And yeah. I was the only one said this. I was the only one. Y'all go back and check it. I said, don't be surprised in 2026 if those items come out because they didn't provide no technical merit. And Jeremy and all of them over said, you're a freaking idiot. It's already in the code. That shows you don't know the code making process, and I'll be damned if they didn't take it out.
Yeah.
That happened.
So I kind of missed that. There was a little audio that I kind of missed on that I wished I would have had in here. But I didn't want to make it too long, and it was kind of too long last week, but this one's short.
Now, let's talk about the ground fault protection. Yeah, Josh the Sparky, you're right. That is a very good point. That you can learn so much going to the NFPA site. You can go to the public inputs, the first draft and the second draft. You can take a look at what the public inputs were that passed and which ones failed, and look at why. Because anything that is accepted or rejected has to have a panel statement associated with it. And that gives you sort of where the head, now, you might see doesn't add clarity, which I think is a cop-out.
Stop right there. Stop. That's all I need to hear right there. Everybody watches this podcast, share it far and wide. Get the algorithms going so everybody, you should get all your friends, everybody to share this hypocrisy that just took place. Code making panel 2, which he is on, which I showed last week, where they said it doesn't add clarity and usability. Basically, Thomas, what you just said, y'all copped out. And I've been stating this for freaking 5 years. They're required to give a substantiation of why they're rejected instead of doing that and citing some freaking rule, but yet they'll cite another rule that allows you to do it. So Jeremy, I wish you were here, Jeremy. You need to listen to this because you said I didn't know how to write a public input, and that's why I got rejected, and they said it doesn't add usability and clarity. But yet they turn around and did exactly what I told you they would do. So it seems like Jeremy and you and them boys over at ECD, you're the ones that don't really know how the code making process works. I'm glad you played that because that proves the hypocrisy right there.
So
wow.
just to clarify to everyone too, I actually submitted exactly what they were saying for all this time since 2020, that an individual branch circuit connects to an outlet that utilization equipment connects to. That's how we're supposed to interpret it. So I went to change the definition of individual branch circuit to say exactly that, and they rejected it and said it didn't add clarity. Thomas Dimitrovich is on code making panel 2. Code making panel 2 rejected it and said doesn't add clarity.
Yep.
It doesn't add clarity. Exactly what you guys said. Exactly,
what a cop out.
Word for word.
Cop out.
That's a cop out.
Cop out.
Yeah.
We need to change the podcast name to called Cop Out.
There you go. I like it. I think that's pretty much it.
But that is what it is. All right.
It is what it is.
Anyway. Let's go back. So on 210.8F.
And we did that last week. But that was, I somehow grabbed the wrong clip. I had it all together into one, but I somehow messed up. But it just goes to show you that when they go through and they say this stuff, they're trying to backpedal, and they're trying to backpedal on their own decisions, in the code making process, And I took them to the woodshed on 62554B. Like that was genius, they cannot argue that they deleted the word outlet from 625, and so that's saying that they don't care where the outlet is. They're not calling it a hazard, and they said the code making panel failed to substantiate that. Well, guess what? I had 210.8F as the problem in that public input. So if they deleted that, they deleted my public input, they deleted the substantiation for 210.8F, in my opinion. That's what,
Sure. He just basically told all y'all, there's rules for us and rules for you.
100%.
Yeah. So that's good they just said. It's a cop-out if you do it to us, but we can do it to you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay.
And you showed last week, if you guys go back and check out last week, King James showed the actual public inputs and how they substantiated them, how they rejected. Like, I submitted every single one of my public inputs to be rejected. Because I was saying exactly what they're saying, how I'm supposed to interpret it, and then they're rejecting what they said I'm supposed to interpret.
That's right.
Like, okay.
And one of the things I'm going to do, and all y'all in code making panel 1, you can get ready for it. I'm submitting a public input to y'all. You made a change to the definition of an outlet, and you said it connected to utilization equipment. And then you went back to the original definition because you realized you screwed up. So I'm going to give you another opportunity based on the language you used. And I want to see y'all come back and tell me again it doesn't provide usability or clarity, because I'm going to write it up that explains in detail what you stated and what you tried to pass. And now you're going to tell me that based on a certain rule that you can't put examples, and I'm going to refer you to the other examples. And I'm doing the same for an individual branch circuit. The disconnecting means I'm going to do the exact same thing to y'all, because y'all come in, y'all basically said a disconnect doesn't always have an outlet. Well, I'm going to give you an example of how I think one where there is an outlet, and you made the statement, so you got to respond to the statement you made.
Sure.
And we're going to get this cleared up, because Bill and I have been at this for 5-6 years, whatever, about this outlet issue. And we've backed everything we set up, and we've used the code, the National Electrical Code as a whole. We just don't pick a section and say it applies to everything. We're showing everybody where the discrepancies are. And so now we're going to give you the opportunity to come in and explain. And I'll guarantee you, don't be surprised if they come back once again and say it doesn't provide usability and clarity. And we're going to call it out on this podcast when they do it.
Yeah. They'll be transcribing it for next cycle. But no, what's really funny was the way this started, just so everyone realized, is there's certain code making panel members that said the outlet was the load side terminals of the disconnect. And we're like, okay, so how do you define that? And what's really funny is you have guys like Mike Holt and Ryan Jackson, all these guys, and they're trying to make like presentations to point out where this outlet is, and they can't even point to where it is.
That's right.
I actually have an illustration from Mike Holt of an outlet is a point on the wiring system where current is taken to feed utilization equipment, where he has an arrow pointing to nothing. It's literally just a hovering point. It doesn't point because he doesn't know where to point it to. And that's what's really funny. And then he told Mario, member on NEC Live, hey, Mario, go ahead and point it back to the disconnect so people understand what I'm talking about. Well, it can't be a disconnect outlet. Like, you can't have two definitions at the same thing. It can't be both. It's either a switching device or it's an outlet. It can't be both a switching device and an outlet at the same time.
I want to say one thing on this. Then we can let it go. Okay. But one of the things I want everybody to understand, and I want to point this out, none of them agree where the outlet location is. And you know what the argument is from people like Jeremy and Fritz and Myers and all them guys over there? You know what their argument is about that? Well, at least they know there's an outlet somewhere. That's the argument. At least they know there's an outlet, but we can't pinpoint where that outlet is. Nobody agrees where the outlet is.
What they say is, oh, well, just put it on GFCI protection, because no matter where it is, it's got GFCI protection. What we're saying is you don't need a GFCI protected because there's not a place that's gonna has any kind of hazard to personnel. And that's what we've been saying this whole time, is that, this tragic death in Southside Chicago, this kid Vontel Pergo, he jumped like a 6-foot fence, landed on an AC unit, crushed the seal tight, lost the equipment ground path, and energized the unit. He basically got welded to the fence. I posted the whole story on NEC for Dummies, a bunch of my groups I posted the whole story on, and like the paramedics were saying in all their years, and 8 years since they've been a paramedic, they've never seen anything like it. Well, yeah, because it's a freak accident. And for them to go in and change the code and say, oh, well, this applies the way we say it should apply, it's just ridiculous, you know. It's there, like there was a lot of stuff in that whole thing that was just, it was really kind of crooked, you know. And you remember back when that happened, I says, yeah, well, you know, 210.8F says all outdoor outlets require GFCI protection. If you would have asked me, hey, is that true? I'd be like, yeah, 100%. All outdoor outlets require GFCI protection. I don't know why they put that. And then all of a sudden they say, oh, well, that covers hardwired equipment. Wait, okay, well, just show me where, you know, like now that we got the code changed in 2023 to say installed. Now I go to the AHJ, I say, I didn't show me where I installed an outlet, and I'll put GFCI protection on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we submitted the public inputs, we put the fire to them. They had to put that installed in there, and now they're in trouble because, you know, they realize that it's like, oh, well, I guess you have to install an outlet before you can GFCI protect it, and they're trying to still say, oh, well, EBSE still applies, but now you can't use SP GFCI. You gotta be kidding me. Like, they were just trying to have their cake and eat it too, and it's not working for them. So
That's right.
but we'll go. You want to do the meme?
Yep. Cue it up.
So that's really funny. That's from one of my Facebook groups. A bunch of crazy guys in there, and one of the guys, one of my buddies, really cool guy, is Spencer Fleeman. And I don't know if you saw that video that he did where he's actually pulling arcs, and the breaker's not tripping. So
I saw that one.
He actually does that, and it's pretty funny. People get so mad, they're like, "Oh, you're not using a big enough wire," and he gets a bigger wire, pulling arcs, still not tripping. He does it all the different ways they tell him to do, and it's still not tripping. And it just goes to show like how much lobbyists push to, you know, have this, like, you know, oh, well, it's just for bedrooms, and then they're like, oh, you know, it's for sleeping areas, and then they're like, oh, well, you know, can you sleep in a closet? Sure, you can sleep in a closet. Now we have to put it in closet. You know, it's ridiculous. It's a total made up. A lot of corruption involved in a lot of that stuff. Pushing products, just kind of like what we said, you know.
You know what was interesting? I was doing a code change class when that first come out, and I was explaining, you know, about it and all that. And I said, been down this road before. I said, you will see in the next cycle they'll add, then they'll add again. And I said, they'll start adding it to all kinds of locations. And I said, and they'll never provide anything of technical merit explaining why it needs to be there. It's just their opinion. And sure enough, and then I as I saw, I said, from what I'm understanding, the way this works, I said, if I go over there and I'm in the bedroom and I plug in to a plug and I've got a vacuum cleaner, it's going to cause that thing to trip. I was like, it's going to pick them marks up. And people are like, yeah, I see what you're saying. That could possibly happen. Then all of a sudden, they started requiring, that was what was happening. There were jurisdictions here telling them not to put it in. Because I can tell you from being the chief electrical inspector of Fort Worth, or Grapevine, Dad's Fort Worth, and Dad had the same thing. But there's one thing that holds true, that the city managers, mayors, everybody that's in that city, is they don't like homeowners calling complaining about a device or something that's not functioning properly. Sure. And if you have something that's causing it to trip constantly, and they're sending people out there saying it's a breaker, it's required by code, you start getting a bunch of people from you know, residents calling saying, we got a problem here. This is always tripping. I don't want this in my house. All of a sudden, you get thousands and thousands of calls. Guess what? Then you're going to get a jurisdiction say, don't put those in.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because a lot of where you get like these fear mongers like Paul Abernathy, and you get all these guys because they're too scared to go against their little brethren in the code world, you know. And so they won't speak up against it. They won't say anything. They'll, oh, well, you know, it's code. You have to put it in, you know. well, what if it doesn't work? And that's what we've been running into a lot out in the field. And so what ends up happening is you have these jurisdictions that are like, well, don't put it in. So, here's Paul Abernathy saying, oh, the contractor's going to get sued. And you have Ryan Jackson, oh man, contractor's going to get sued in court. No, we're not. We're going through the jurisdiction. We're going through the AHJ. The AHJ has the authority to make those decisions and remove requirements if they don't see a safety issue.
That's right.
And, so like these guys just want to look past all that stuff and like, oh man, Bill, you better do it or you're going to get sued. It's like, no, they're not. They're not going to sue me because I'm going through the AHJ. And the AHJ is sick of these code-making panels trying to push this agenda of incompatibility.
And see, that goes back to one thing I've stated on here many, many times, is when that went in, where was the technical merit, plus also showing where there were any deaths or anything from this? Had them in all these years and everything, no problems or anything. It always had to be something that would have caused it. More than likely, a lot of times, that somebody working on something improperly, not following safety rules and things like that, if somebody got hurt. And that was sort of the same thing that happened with AC units. They referenced 3 different items at that time, and one was the one you brought up a while ago about the guy jumping on the fence, and the other 2 were techs that were performing maintenance on it, and they were working on it while it was energized. They didn't follow their rules or anything, and they referenced those 3 cases, and that had nothing to do with the product itself.
Well, and what is interesting too is that all of those cases were like existing units. Like these were not new installs.
Yeah.
They were like, and so they're sitting there pushing this code through on like new installs, and it had nothing to do with new installs.
That's right.
That's
right.
And so like what's funny is they're sitting there still trying to push this. They say, you know what? There's like this whole thing's gonna expire in 2026 and all this stuff. And you're gonna have to put GFCI on it. Well, the thing that's funny about it, and I kind of bumped into this by accident, which I thought was hilarious. But a lot of the code-making panel were like, why are you trying to push so hard on this? Or, oh, well, the frame could become energized, right?
Well, that's on anything.
Yeah. And so we go and look, and a lot of these AC condensers are not even metal anymore. They're made out of fiberglass, carbon fiber, made out of plastic, and they're made out of materials that aren't even metal.
Yeah.
So how are you going to justify that? What, you going to get killed off a screw now? I mean, it's so ridiculous, and like they're just trying to sell product. But like I said, I think we beat that horse pretty good to death, and I think we should move on to the next
myth of the week.
Yep. Let's do it.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right. Thanks so much this week for all the participation we had. I posted this over on the Electrical Code Discussion for Awesome Electricians group. We had like over 150 comments, and that was really awesome. Thanks so much for participating. Really awesome that you guys jump in on this every week. And so this one, I kind of went in the way back machine and kind of dragged up a myth that we'd already covered previously on one of our other shows. So you'll have to go back 200 episodes ago to find that one. But I don't even remember what year we even did that one. But we have covered this before. Myth of the Week number 44. And basically the NEC permits two number 12 conductors to be terminated to a molded case circuit breaker. And I always throw in like the code cycle in there as like kind of a joke, because nothing's changed in 2026, 2023, 2020, 2017, 2014. It's has always been the same. And what's really funny is that they had some changes to 110.3b, and there is no way that this would lessen the requirements of the code. So it's really funny because they try to push a lot of this stuff in to say, oh, well, no, you have to do this or you have to do that, and this makes it to where you have to do this. And that's just a lot of fear mongering. It's a lot of, there is literally, I mean, have you ever called this out, James, on any of your inspections?
No.
So
No,
the reason
one thing I'll point out about this, and we'll get to this in a little bit. Now, I remember this a long, long time ago. And the guy that was, well, matter of fact, let me go over. I want to show y'all something. So, first of all, let's take a look at the illustration, first of all. And what he's pointing at is the listing and labeling here and saying you could put 2 number 14s or 2 number 10 copper conductors on here. Okay?
Well, it's saying 2 number 14, 2 number 12s, or 2 number 10. So it's saying 14 through 10.
Yeah, that's what I mean, 14 through 10.
Yeah.
So you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, well, looking at one here, you got where you could put 1 number 14 through number 8 aluminum. Okay. Right. Now, when you come over here, and I remember this argument so well, is they would look at this and they'd look at 110.14a. And it was interesting. I actually had a little bit of time today, so I went over and saw the comments on there, and I saw somebody said, yeah, you can do it for 110.14a. And I was like, now let's go and look exactly what it says. Okay. Right. And then I'm gonna explain a couple of things here because I want people to understand what the double standard that you're going to see here.
Well, so, and you see where I'm kind of trying to make a clash here. I'm trying to make a little bit of a conflict.
Yes.
Because they said that the NEC overrides the listing and labeling of the manufacturer.
That's what I'm about to get to.
Nice.
So if you look at A, it says connection of conductors to terminal parts shall ensure a mechanically secure electrical connection without damaging the conductors and shall be made by means of pressure connectors, including set screw type, solder lugs, or splices to flexible leads. Connection by means of wire bending screws or studs and nuts that have upturned lugs or equivalent shall be permitted for number 10 or smaller conductors. Now, you look at that, there's nothing about 2 conductors, is there? So far. Okay. Then the next part says terminals for more than 1 conductor and terminals used to connect aluminum shall be so identified. Okay. The only thing it's mentioning here where identification is taking place if it's aluminum conductor, correct?
Yep, that's what I'm reading.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure everybody's following. So then I said, all right, we got that out of the way. The only place in the code it's telling you anything about more than 1 conductor is where it's aluminum. So then I come in and I look at 110.3b and let's see what it says. Equipment that is listed, labeled, or both are identified for a use shall be installed and used in accordance with any instructions included in the listing, labeling, or identification. And then they put in it's 2026. Such installation shall result in an installation and use that complies with the requirements within this code. Well, there's no requirement within the code that I'm aware of. So if I'm looking at the only place that mentions something is aluminum, so are y'all going to argue the point now I can only do this for aluminum, even though I come back and I look at this breaker here and it allows me to put 2 conductors out of copper here. Oh, so what are you going to apply here, Jeremy, and all the big boys over there that are the code experts, apparently? Are you telling me that the code overrides this now and I can't use this breaker?
Yeah, you can't install it because it's not it's not up to snuff with your little argument.
That's what I'm trying to point out here is they pick and choose where they want to take and apply that the code overrides something. So, in other words, if I had, just like we were talking about a while ago, I have an AC unit. I got EVSE over here. And we went through these definition stuff the other day, or the last podcast. And they're telling you no GFCI protection. Now they want to come in and apply the rule here and say the code overrides that. Oh, but if I've got a breaker here, are you going to tell me the same thing for this breaker?
Yeah.
This is exactly why you want to come to this podcast, because we go through and we show you all the sections and everything and break them down and show you exactly where they tell you one thing and then they'll take and apply it for something else, and then another thing they won't apply. You can't do that with a code. You have to be consistent throughout. You can't apply something for one thing and not for others.
So I have another example that's a good one on HVAC units specifically. We ran into this before. You go look on the HVAC unit, it says copper conductors only.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use aluminum.
That's right.
So you tell me, Jeremy, where does it say in the code anywhere that you can't use aluminum conductors on an outdoor AC unit?
Yeah.
It's not there. It's so you should be able to just, Jeremy can just, his big union brotherhood, they can just go put aluminum on HVAC units, which they'd never do anyway. But, you should be able to do that, Jeremy, because nothing in the code says that. The code overrides the manufacturer instructions. But guess who's holding the liability of that HVAC unit when they go and look and they send out, who is it? They'll send out a UL certification agent, like if you have issues or something, and they'll have a problem. I can't remember what they call those guys. But
I want to give everybody an example of something, okay? And I deal with a lot of court cases and stuff as special expert. I go through this stuff all the time. And I can tell you, if you go to a court and the manufacturer told you not to put now I'm just going to make a scenario up here. Let's say that the AC manufacturer told you not to put GFCI protection on it, and then they tell you, nope, code overrides it, we're putting GFCI protection on it. Then you take, like down here in Texas, it gets really hot. It could be Arizona, it could be anywhere. It gets real hot. And then all of a sudden, guess what? That breaker trips. You got a really, really old person there that can't fend for themselves, know what to do. And then all of a sudden, they die from heat exhaustion because the AC tripped.
True.
Okay.
And they're unable to.
That's right.
Like, get up and reset the breaker.
That's right.
I want to do like
my question is, to finish that off, who becomes responsible at that point?
Yeah,
well,
and that would be mine. Is it the AHJ who's forcing the code down our throats? To me, honestly, I'll do whatever that. Like, if the AHJ says, "Hey, you got a GFCI protect this," I'll be like, "Yes, sir. I'd really like you to point out where I installed an outlet, and I will GFCI protect it right away."
Well, what I would say is I have no problem with doing that, but I believe the manufacturer told me not to put it on GFCI protection. So if you want me to do that, I need a letter from you stating that you're requiring that GFCI protection, because I'm not going to take the responsibility of the warranty of that AC if something happens, because I went against what their listing and labeling was. And more likely, he's going to tell you, we're not taking it, just go ahead and put it on a regular thermal mag. That'll be it.
Yeah. And the thing is that you have that AHJ experience, and that's what typically happens. So what we do, and this is really funny, like we've done some big high-rises downtown, and they show up with millions, possibly billions of dollars worth of appliances, and they don't work on these combination devices. So I say combination, but I should kind of backtrack a little and kind of go back with what I mean with combination. So they actually have a dual function where it's AFCI/GFCI, and then they have combination. So you probably remember this. You were talking about teaching classes right when this came out. I want to say it was around the 2005 code. It was around probably 2002, 2005 code. And when it first came out, they were like, oh, we need AFCIs just for bedrooms. That's it, just for bedrooms. Now, don't get scared. It's just for bedrooms. Nobody, we're not expanding it.
Yeah.
And so then what ended up happening was, I didn't really understand this, but the first AFCI that they came out with was not, it didn't work or something. I don't think any of them worked, but it was not combination rated. It wasn't for a combination of arcs. And so they actually had a code change in 2005. I want to say it was 2005 that they had this code change, and they said that the AFCI had to be combination rated for a combination of series and parallel arcs or something stupid. I didn't really understand it because, like I say, I'm seeing guys like Spencer Fleeman and all these other guys out here testing all these different arcs, and it's not detecting them. So I don't understand what the whole deal is, but you guarantee if you take a grounded conductor and put it to ground, it'll trip that arc fault.
Dang right, it will.
So that's the kind of things so it seems more like a nuisance problem than anything. But I was just kind of backtracking a little bit with that AFCI thing, not really trying to derail your argument. But we come into this installation and use where the only code direction that we have is from the manufacturer. And if the manufacturer is giving you permission, they're taking on that responsibility. We ran into this big time in the 2026 with 62554B, where the code making panel went into this haywire tantrum of additions. Like, they basically took 210.8 and just copy and pasted it over to 625, and man, it was this whole playground for all these different code panels to just get all this stuff in. And the Standards Council was like, nope, not doing it. Goes back to one sentence. You know what I mean? Like, I loved it. I thought it was so awesome. I mean, it was perfect. Exactly what I wanted. And, that's just the kind of thing that you can see where these guys are trying to push all this stuff. And then it's really funny because I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Ryan Jackson. One of the code guys came in and was like, well, for the first time since 1999, the GFCI protection was not expanded this cycle. And it's like, really? Is that because people stood up against it and said, you ain't expanding it anymore?
Yeah.
Because that's what happened.
That's exactly what happened. That is right.
So that's kind of why I brought this up this week, because somebody reached out to me, and an individual said, it was a non-electrician that reached out to me, asked me how much of a hazard it was to have two conductors go on the breaker. Home inspector dinged them on it. We actually do pretty good as electricians on these home inspection things, because how do you think I fixed that, James? What do you think I did on that one to fix that for the home inspector?
I would assume you talked to the home inspector and you did what he wanted. That's what I would think.
I pulled it off the breaker, threw a wire nut on there, and put it on one. So it, it was just, I just pigtailed it and took it off the double tap. But it's still stupid. It's like, I'm like, all right, whatever.
Did the breaker say you could do it?
Well, yeah, 100%. But I ain't gonna argue. I just went over there, pigtailed it, put a single conductor on there, and called it a day. I mean, it took me 10 seconds.
See, if I was looking at something like that as an inspector, the breaker said I could put two conductors there, I got no problem with it, because that's a listed and labeled breaker to allow you to do that. And I don't see how any inspector would have a problem with that.
Yeah, they didn't like it, and I was like, all right, cool, it's good, whatever.
Really?
I didn't even argue it. I just went over there, pigtailed it, put it on there. The same exact thing to me.
Wow.
So where we run into this a lot, and I've actually got in real big arguments with this, is in fire alarm equipment. And we're not allowed to splice class 1 wiring inside that compartment. So we have to use the double lug technique. That's the only way we can do it. Has to come in, hit one side of the lug, then the other side has to go out on the other side of the lug, then hit the next equipment, go out of there, go to the next one, go out of there, go to the next one. We can't splice. There's no... we can put J boxes above and splice in the J boxes, but that's a lot of extra work. There's no reason for it. When you can just run all your class 1 wiring through and just in, out, in, out, in, out. And I mean, I've had guys like, it was funny, one of the foremen I was on the project, he's like, I catch anybody double tapping these fire alarm panels. I catch anybody running class 1 wiring inside here. They're throwing off my job immediately, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got this fire alarm guy who's like, he's doing some other stuff there. And I was like, is this really a big deal? He goes, you know what? He goes, the inspector's almost here. He's on his way to come inspect this. He's all, do it how you think it's right. And then we'll see if the inspector calls it. And if he calls it, then this dude's an idiot. And it was funny. So I went ahead and I did it. And I did it exactly the way I was like, yeah, this is the way we do it. I just double lugged it. And he said something like you couldn't cross the other, like the fire alarm wire coming in. You couldn't cross them or something with class 1 wiring. But it was just, we used shielded wiring, so there was no issue, you know?
Yeah.
And it was funny. So I went and I just wired it up how I thought it was right and everything. And the inspector shows up, and all the things this guy was saying he's going to throw people off the job for, it was all done. I did it all like the way, exactly the way he was saying throw people off the job. And everyone's like, oh man, Billy, you're going to get thrown off the job. And he looked and gave me like the biggest, crustiest look. And the inspector's like, all right, Bill, looks good. We'll see you later. And he signs it off and took off. And oh man, he was so mad. And he just did not talk to me the whole rest of the job. He's just so mad. And so just goes to show you, you know, like I knew that inside those fire alarm equipment panels, they have that same pressure plate like the breaker has. Mm-hmm. And they're listed for 2 conductors. And so the only thing you have to worry about is you don't want to put like a 12 or a 14. And it was funny because my apprentice even got this today. He goes, don't they have to be the same size? I was like, yes, sir. So big shout out to you, Gio. Got it right. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, it's funny, dude. Daniel knows, dude. They do that all the time on a job site. Like, no, you can't do that, Bill. And it's so funny. And so then Daniel knows I love triggering people when it comes to like, oh, you can't do that? All right, we can't do this? And it's really funny because Daniel knows firsthand that a lot of times what I do is I'll say, like, oh, hey, here's a picture of what I did. Can I do this? You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, no, you can't do that. What? I can't do the thing that I took a picture of that I already did? You know? Yeah. It's just funny. You get a lot of comedy going in, but like I say, myth is busted. You absolutely 100% per code, per manufacturer, per everything. You can put 2 conductors on a breaker, or you can just do like what I did, not even argue, just go over there, pigtail it, put it on there, and say, all right, are we good? Later. You know?
I'm actually surprised he didn't allow you to do it if the product says you can.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna argue. So you get into like you go down these rabbit holes with these guys, and you know they'll say, "Oh man, well you know the screw turns clockwise, and so you have to have it on the top hole. They don't design it. They design it for European counterclock. You know, you get in these rabbit holes with these guys, and they're like, oh yeah, you know it has to be in the top hole because then that's clockwise, and that's what the torque value's rated on, all this stuff. And it's like, I didn't even argue. I just went over there, boom, 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 boom. Dude, I was in and out of there in like 20 minutes, had everything fixed, all the issues were done, and there was no argument because what reason that they try to do that stuff is because they want you to come there for the inspection and argue with them. And I just don't even do it anymore. I just go over there, all right, what does he want? All right, and then, you know, he's going to sit there and say, oh, you can't splice in a panel. Yeah, you can. So, it's cool, but myth is busted. That was a lot of fun.
All right. So let's topic of the week. I
There you
get to
go.
do it this week. Oh,
Finally.
yay.
I tried to give you short audio, so my bad.
All right, topic of the week. Finally, I'm back on. We're in part 4, and this
Nice.
is taking us over into Article 110. We did first 3 parts were dealt with definitions, and now we're getting into 110.2, and basically what you're getting into here. This is where they made a revision, and basically where the revision took place was in the informational note. So when they added the new informational note, what this was supposed to do is add a note 1, and then you were able to get a note 2 out of this. Okay. So when you look at the change that took place, is what did they do in note 2? Okay. And all they did, now let me go through this, because when you look at note 1, they did make a change. You still had the exact same information where they tell you to see 90.7. That's where you get into the examination equipment for safety. But in 110.3, it'll, in that informational note number 1, it'll talk about examination, identification, installation. But where the new part that they added in there is use and listing. And in listing, right after it, they have in parentheses product certification for your equipment. Okay, that was the part of that change. And how many times we brought this up last week when we were talking about this, and Jeremy was arguing. I went through the whole thing, and I showed where the Standards Council said go by the listing for the product certification of the equipment.
True.
Okay. And that is a new thing that you're seeing in there, is in the parentheses of product certification. So you need to pay real close attention to that. And then in note 2, what did they do? They tell you to see Article 100, and this is where you're going to deal with the definitions of approved, identified, labeled, and listed. Okay. Now, the reason that's important, because I took everybody through all the loops and everything. And when I went through all the loops and did everything that we needed to do, I took it all back to approve, which is by who? The authority having jurisdiction. Okay.
So just a quick question for you. So I see that the changes are informational notes here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some informational notes are enforceable. Some informational notes are not. Like, how would you describe this as being possibly a change that matters as far as being enforceable?
Well, it's informational notes, but it's taking you back from an informational standpoint to other parts that are actually full code text.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when you look at this, to give everybody a really good idea, you'll see we put an NEC loop here. Okay. And as I was looking at this, I said, when you look at 90.7, what does it deal with? That's your examination of equipment for safety. Yep. And then they're going to take you from that point, and then they're going to say, look at 110.3 A, B, and C. So when you go down and you look at A, that's your examination of equipment. B is your installation and use, and C deals with what? Listing. Okay. Yeah. So that lays everything out back to 110.2, which takes you to what? The definition of Article 100 for approved, and that's acceptable to who?
Authority having jurisdiction.
Yeah. So see, it's not something that I'm making up. I'm just taking you through the parts of this. Now, the next thing that gets interesting, and I will tell everybody, go look at all other publications, all other illustrations. do comparisons. Don't take my word for anything. You'll see that we lay out here, we take you to the definition identified, but the other one I want to point out is 500.8A. Okay? Now, when you're dealing with 500.8A, that's going to deal with your hazardous classified locations. And when you pick up A, that's where you go in and you pick up your suitability of equipment. And what does it tell you over there? It says it's determined by what? The equipment listing and labeling, or the second one is evidence of equipment evaluation. And that evaluation is where you're getting into third party, and that's done by who? A qualified testing laboratory, NERDL, whatever you want to call it, or some type of inspection agency that's concerned with what? Product evaluation.
True. Okay? Dude, you would love this. Like, I don't know if you remember the whole argument that we had, like, with Tommy ties and stuff, and, like, locking the disconnects. But I was out working out gas and oil, and I actually came across, it was, like a flow valve controller. Mm-hmm. And they actually had a self-locking nut and bolt on there. And they said this self-locking nut and bolt needs to be installed to comply with Class 1, Div 2 locations. And I just was blown away because, you know, like, nowhere in the code does it say this cabinet has to have a tool to open. You know, that's decided by the manufacturer, not by the code. Mm-hmm. And it blew me away to think about it, how much of an idiot you'd have to be to get that self-locking nut and bolt off in like a hazardous location to open that flow valve cabinet and blow up the whole plant. You know, I mean, to me, you'd have to be just the biggest dingus in the world. You know, so that it was just really interesting that I saw that, and that was the whole time when that whole argument was going on, where Tommy Davis actually got language in the code to say the disconnects must have a tool to open, and it's spread around. I think it's in 404 now, or I think it's in 440. I believe it's over in 690. A bunch of places where it says it has to have a tool to open, but then you said it exactly. That they don't say it in hazardous location. It's you go off the manufacturer.
Yeah, well, listen to the third part, because this will blow everybody away, because they even take it a step further, and they talk about having evidence that's going to be acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction. Now, they're going to say the authority having jurisdiction, and listen to what they tell you. It can be a manufacturer's self-evaluation or an owner's engineering judgment.
True.
Now think about it. How many times have I stated on here, this goes to Jeremy, and the boys at ECD don't know what they're doing because they have not dealt with the hazardous location industry like we have. And this is why Dad had to go on there and be chairman for Code Making Panel 14 to get all this straightened out, is because a lot of the time when they're designing stuff for a hazardous location, you cannot purchase that stuff. And they have to customize that equipment. That's where it goes into a third-party certification. And I've stated this many times. They'll bring somebody out there like a UL 508, 508A shop, and they'll look at the equipment, but they allow a lot on the manufacturer self-evaluation of the equipment because they know more about how that operates and the locations they're in and how to take and prevent that equipment from causing an explosion.
So yeah, what they called those guys, I remember now, they're called field evaluation bodies.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
They'll send out a field evaluation body. Mm-hmm. And it's an actual guy that comes out and evaluates all the equipment as you built it. But the thing is, and that's what I was saying, is they'll have that field evaluation body come out, and he'll look at if you have an issue or you have a problem, and he'll be like, oh, well, you weren't supposed to use aluminum conductors. Mm-hmm. You know, even though nothing in the code said you couldn't use aluminum conductors, the field evaluation body is going to catch on like, hey, that manufacturer instruction said don't use copper conductors only, and you use aluminum conductors because you're a weed man and you think you're smarter than everybody up there in Minnesota, and
Sure.
you know everyone else is just glorified ditch diggers, and then next thing you know, now you're the one that's going to be, having that problem, and there's no reason for it when you just need to follow the right stuff.
And this goes into talking about a lot of the stuff that we're looking at. If you look at that bottom standards, and we tell you to look at the National Electrical Code, and this ties you right back into UL 508A, or I'm sorry, NEC 500.8A. And then you'll see we tell you to look at UL 508. You might actually have to look at an ANSI C series. And then what does NFPA 79 deal with? Industrial control equipment.
Yep.
And then if it's something from overseas, you may need to look at an IEC standards such as 60630. Okay, and then here's some other UL standards. But even after we tie all that in, you still have to look at this in order to have that as a listed and labeled piece of equipment, which I've done this many times looking at OSHA 1910.399. That ties you back into OSHA 19.7, where we got in, and they specifically stated in order to be a NERDL or qualified testing laboratory and get a UL listed and labeled piece of equipment, what do you have to do? You have to follow and keep current with periodic changes to electrical code and installation standards.
Was that $4.99 you said?
Well, for the definitions in OSHA that goes through the acceptability to the secretary and all that, you're looking at 19.399. That ties in with 90 point, or really it ties in with your definitions like we have for approved with Article 100 of the National Electrical Code.
I thought you were talking about NFPA 499. My bad.
No. Now, when you get into NFPA 499, that's where you're getting into dust and stuff like that, and 497 gets into your gases and vapors. And then OSHA 1910.7 is really where it finishes off to give you the approval in order to be a NERDL or qualified testing laboratory, which is interesting because when I go to the next one, and this is where I have an argument with these people, because what they put in here, and I want everybody to listen to what I'm saying here. We put it in the purpose change that they made a revision here to clarify that the National Electrical Code supersedes the product installation and use instructions. That's what they said. So they made it clear that product installation and use instructions shall not compromise safety and must also conform to the requirements of the National Electrical Code. All right. Now, when I look at that, and we put these in here, we put in here OSHA loop for OSHA inspector. This is what they're going to look at. And they're going to look at that, and they're going to say the equipment was listed. Okay? And when it's listed and labeled, they went through the NERDL process, and based on their rules and everything, that industrial piece of control equipment there, it had to take and go through certain procedure requirements in order to get that listing and labeling. And in order for that to happen, it had to be current with what? Your electrical codes and installation standards. So you've got a code making panel here, one that's trying to say they supersede that product installation and use instructions. Okay, let's just say that that's true. Okay, then how was the Standards Council able to go in and overrule the code making panel and actually overriding code making panel 1 right here in saying that you don't need GFCI protection for that hardwired equipment?
True.
This here's a problem.
Yeah. And the thing, what's funny about this is they tried to do a little sneaky thing on it, which I thought was hilarious, is they try to say, oh no, this is what it always said, we just clarified it.
Yeah, let me point something out here. And I've stated this, and I don't care if it pisses people off or not. I've stated that there's people on the code making panels that get put on there by manufacturers, by organizations and stuff, and they're not qualified to be making decisions like this, because you have to know your other codes and standards here. And the other codes and standards are very specific that in order to get that listing and labeling, it had to be concurrent at that time with the code. If this is the case, what they're saying, then you should be taking control over that listing and labeling.
True.
And I also will point out, where did Code Making Panel 1 ever do any of this testing or anything? They haven't done any of it. They didn't provide anything, and I'm going to comment on this back to them. And I'm going to say, and I'm specifically going to state to them, I'm going to say, if this is true, what you're saying, that you supersede it, and the manufacturer tells you not to do something, who becomes liable for that if they don't follow the manufacturer's listing and labeling? And
James, that doesn't add clarity or usability.
Mm-hmm. Well, it brings up a point. NFPA, they need to get a hold of this. Somebody NFPA is watching. You know, it may upset NFPA. I'm saying this stuff, but I'm telling y'all, I deal with this stuff, and I've dealt with OSHA. Dad's been an expert for them. We know how they look at things, and if you go look, that's a federal regulation standard that's put in place, and they're saying that these NERDLs and these qualified testing laboratories have to follow the code that was put in at that time. And if they are following that code and got that listing and labeling on it, now you're basically saying the UL standards and anything else they're following to get that listing and labeling is null and void because the code says so. That's basically what's being said here.
Dude, see, the thing that bothered me about it was them going, oh no, it already said that. We just clarified it. And it's like, but how? Okay, so it's a code revision. If it's a code revision, it's a code change. How can you sit there and say it already said it, we just added clarity? It's a revision. It's a change.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and then they made a change to 110.10. All they did here was add available fault current. So basically they tell you the overcurrent protection device, your equipment, short circuit current ratings, and any other type of characteristics you have for that circuit, they're required to be protected and selected, and plus also coordinated with what? The available fault current.
sure.
Okay? And the reason that is it permits the overcurrent device is used to clear what? A fault, so it doesn't do any extensive damage to the electrical equipment. That's basically what they did here.
So I'm going to translate for King James is they don't want any unintended rapid disassembly in the field.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But, and if you look at this, available fault current actually needs to be there. But you know, I consider available fault current same thing as a short circuit current rating. Sure. But when you're looking at this, why would they need that in 110.10 when they're talking about this? Is because when you go in and you look at, and to give everybody an example, you'll remember this when they made this change. They added a section, I forget which one it was, or year. But if you go look at 110.24 A and B, that's where you pick up your available fault current. And
sure.
and I'm gonna give everybody a history lesson. So when this come in the code, people would say, why did it go in the code? Well, what happened was, and this goes back to people that were actually involved, that were on task groups and stuff, which I was on when this was being done. And we took in the 70 document, and we added, which is tables now, tables 130.7, C15, A, B, and C. Well, C is actually selecting equipment, B is DC, and A is AC. And one of the things when you go in and you're looking at applying the table method in order to select your PPE, it was based on, you had parameters down below. Well, what were some of the parameters? They needed to know what the available fault current was and what the clearing time was. Well, when you had these contractors going out there, you didn't have any markings on the equipment or anything. they would have to go out and find what the available fault current was, look at the clearing time, then they could decide what category they were in, and then be able to select their PPE. But if you didn't meet those requirements that were down in the notes, if you exceeded the available fault current clearing time, guess what? Then you had to perform the calculation method.
True.
Okay, but you could always just do the calculation method and be ready to go. So we put that in there, and when that went in that way, what did that do for everybody? Well, it required the available fault current at the service, and once they got it at the service from the utility, because the utility wasn't going to give it to you, but now they do because it's required by code. Now they can go get that available fault current clearing time and know what they're getting into.
So I have a really good story about that clearing time. You taught me a lot about that. We've actually been called out, oh man, you guys don't know what you're doing, But it's really funny because King James taught me about this, and we had this service. Me and Gio were out there at DIA. We're looking at some of these services, and we're looking at some of those incident energy calculations.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a 120 240 that had a higher incident energy than a 480.
Mm-hmm.
How can that be? It's lower voltage. It's lower ampacity.
Clearing time.
Why is that? Because you're going I squared through that transformer.
That's right.
And so, like, you teaching me that, and then I'm showing Gio. I'm like, you know why that's so high? He's like, no, I have no clue. I'm like, it's because of the clearing time.
That's right.
Because that higher ampacity, or that higher ampacity, higher voltage is going to clear faster than that lower voltage, lower ampacity. That's going to have a lower clearing time. So
it is.
that was really good, just to teach me that,
And one of the things that I'll do here in a couple of weeks, we'll go through on a Sunday evening, and I will show you some of those calculations from the 70E publication and what you're getting into. And I will guarantee you won't find another publication that lays everything out like we do. We actually go through every section in 70E. That book is laid out that way. So we'll do that.
Nice.
And then what did they do with 110.16? Now here is another one where you get into what? The arc flash hazard warning. Now, what they did.
This one's a Darwin Award. It's always been, to me, it's a Darwin Award.
Well,
just, if you're dumb enough to take that cover off and not realize there's an arc flash hazard.
Well, the thing that they did with this, and basically it's going to get into where it says an other than dwelling units, and they'll talk about an arc flash marking here, and they'll tell you it has to be field or factory applied to the service equipment. And it also includes feeder supplied equipment. And then they get in and give you a list. They say switchboards, switch gears, industrial control panels, panel boards, meter socket enclosures, motor control centers. And this is the part that you need to listen to, that are likely to require what? That's where you get into your examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while it is energized. And
which
then
falls right in hand with 110 26A, what we were doing.
Yeah, matter
before.
of fact, one of the things, I'll pull it up here in a minute. It's going to tell you it's required to contain certain information. And it's going to say you need the system voltage, you need the arc flash boundary, the available incident energy, or the minimum required level of PPE. Well, the minimum required is where you're going to get in. You get an option here. You can have a calculated incident energy level, or you can have a hazard risk category here. And then they also tell you the date the assessment was completed. And when I was talking about that, I was pulling up the 70E because I wanted everybody to see when you get into the markings and everything. So I'm going to go over and look at 130.5. This is where you're going to pick up your arc risk assessment. And let me go over here and get to it. And then I will share the screen so everybody can see what I'm talking about. Let me get to it. There's my equipment labeling in H, just like I thought it was. Okay, let me share this screen real quick so everybody can see what is required. All right, right there. There's NFPA.
Well, and
There we
that's
go.
what's really cool. Like you guys will notice about the stall cups is they don't just look at one reference and try to teach you one reference. Like when I really like the way that you built me as a code expert to look at everything as a whole and try to take it all in. It's a lot. You have to look
It
at
is.
70E, 70B. You have to look at all this stuff. You can't just look at the NEC and go, "Oh, yep, you guys are wrong."
That's right.
That's awesome. If you think you can do that, go for it. But I mean, it's a lot.
And look, you almost have the exact same language. So let's see. Electrical equipment such as what? Switchboards, panel boards, industrial control panels, meter socket enclosures, and motor control signers that are in other dwelling units and likely to require what? Examination, adjustment, service maintenance, while energized, shall be marked with a label containing the following information. Let's see what we got. The nominal system voltage, the arc flash boundary, and then it says at least one of the following. Oh, look at here. The available instant energy and the corresponding working distance, which is typically 18 inches, or look at here, or the arc flash PPE category for the equipment, which I just stated was in table 130.7C15A for AC. It says you can have either one of these, but you can't have both. And then they won't, or you could put the minimum mark rating of the clothing or the site-specific level of PPE. Okay?
True.
Now,
And one thing I want to add, just for all the apprentices that are tuning in, there's actually apprentices that quiz me on this, so I just want to be accurate. Is that PPE is not a spacesuit that protects you from everything. That is required by code to limit your exposure to second degree burns.
sure.
So a second degree burn is not fun. So I just don't want the apprentices out there to think because it's PPE doesn't mean that you're not going to get injured.
Sure. And I'm going to point something else out here, and I want everybody to see this. As I drop down, I'm going to move this up to the top so everybody knows exactly right there. It says the method of calculating and the data to support the information for the label shall be documented. Now, this is the next part. I want you to listen to what it says. The data shall be reviewed for accuracy at intervals not to exceed 5 years. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I want to go back and
Dude, they're screwed at the airport. We can't even get a permit in 5 years.
well, I want to look,
I'm just joking.
and if you look at 110.24, I'm on the wrong one there. You go look at 110.24. Let's see if it says anything about that. All right. So modifications. Let's see what it says here. When modifications to the electrical installation occur that affect the available fault current at the service, the available fault current shall be verified or recalculated as necessary to ensure the equipment ratings are sufficient for the available fault current at the line terminals of the equipment. Now, the reason I want to point that out, because even if I look at A for a field marking and stuff here, is there anywhere in there that tells you that you need to do it every 5 years? No. So how would I get the 5 years in order to enforce that, which OSHA would look at, which they would use in their annex as a remedial standard to enforce to make sure that you have the proper available fault current value there? They would look at 70E.
So
Okay.
I just want to kind of clarify something for everyone. So typically, you can't just look at like one standard and say, oh, this applies to everything, like Weed Man and all the ECD boys do. Anytime you're out on the site and you're trying to determine like electrically safe work condition, you're trying to determine all this stuff, you go off, like, it doesn't have to say a number of like, say 5 years, like what you're saying. You go off the strictest standard. And when you go up the hierarchy, OSHA is at the top of the chain. So you're really not going to go wrong by being OSHA, but there are people that can go above OSHA as far as the standards go, as require stricter. And so if they require stricter than OSHA, let's just say some dumb thing like you do it every 3 years, you do it every 3 years because that's their program. So, you know, OSHA is like kind of, all this stuff is kind of, I hate to say it's the bare minimum, but it's the minimum standard. It's the minimum safety standard. You could always go above that safety standard and require higher safety standard, but to me, my opinion is you always cause problems when you try to do that.
Sure.
If you try to adhere to that minimum safety standard, that's gonna get you as really close as possible. Like if you try to go above that, then you could be like, man, these guys are trying to get these calculations done faster and they're making mistakes, and you know what I mean? You have problems, and I just don't like that. I say just go with whatever the standard says and comply with it, and then, you know, it's basically like just stay focused on doing the easy part of it. Sure. And not focused on, like, not overcomplicating it.
Yeah, and when you look at, we have a note too there. We say, go look at 110.16, 110.21b, 110.24, 110.25. Look at also your ANSI Z535.4 and NFPA 70E 130.5H and exception. I just went over 135H. But right. Just hypothetically, just say I wanted to look at 110.21b. What does that deal with? Well, when you look at 110.21, that's going to deal with your markings. And then when you come down, you pick up B, that's where you pick up your field applied hazard markings. And it says there where you have caution, warning, or danger hazard markings. Okay. And they talk about the colors. Well, if it's a caution, what are you using? It's a yellow in the background. If it's a warning, it's orange. And if it's danger, it's red. So they're telling you even there to make sure that you're doing the right warnings here. So you'll see on the illustration, we show a warning sign there. What is it in? Orange. So, and what I tell people is, go look at all these other publications. Go look at them. See if they have all these sections. You know, Jeremy says, oh, that's just an illustration. You're not telling anybody anything. Well, when you start looking at all of this and start tying it in, you start seeing there's an issue. And you have to look at this stuff. Okay?
So we kind of covered this on one of our Myth of the Weeks, and it was really cool. But what makes a lot of this stuff go away?
Mm-hmm.
What does, like, you know, like asking you hypothetically, what makes a lot of this stuff go away? Don't work it while energized. Don't have justified energized work. Do a scheduled shutdown. Yep. Put it in an electrically safe work condition. A lot of this stuff goes away. You don't have to dress for that.
That's right.
You have to dress for it to verify the absence of voltage, but that's like 2 seconds. You know, that's right. I mean, you know, so the thing is, a lot of this comes into engineering controls, and you know that's what we talk about, engineering controls. If you take away the hazard, you take away the injury.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that was really cool that we covered that in our myths, and we're doing 110.26 working clearance, and we got kind of taken to the, you know, like they didn't like us on that. We got dogpiled on that one, but the whole thing is like we're right, and we still are like, no, we're right, and we're still right. You're not working at energized.
That's right. I mean, even looking at this in here, you know, this ain't a huge change, but you have to understand exactly what the change pertained to. And this was in 110.22a, and all they did was make a revision here, clarify about your marking requirements where you have disconnects and what is the marking criteria for the environment and the field applied label. And all of that is set up to provide guidance in accordance with which section, 110.21b. So we, and I can show you note 1, note 2 there. You can look at each one of those. But basically, this disconnects within sight. So in other words, it's visible not more than 50 foot. So we tell you that, look at section 110.29, and then you also tie this in with 430.102. So since the disconnect is within sight from or within sight from other equipment per 110.22A and 110.21B, do I need to mark that disconnect? No. But if it's not, then you need to mark the disconnect. You see what I'm saying? So they're making some really, really good change there in order to tie it in with 110.29 and 430.102. So that brings me over to looking at 110.39, which is exactly what you're looking at when you're dealing with 110.29. The only difference is when I'm looking at 110.39, what does that deal with? That's where you're getting into a higher voltage. Okay. And they're telling you the exact same rules apply here that would apply over in 110.29. And this is where if it's not within sight and it's more than 50 foot, this case here, I don't have to mark it because it's within sight of the equipment and within 50 foot. Okay. And when you want to get into looking at the different requirements here, just remember that 110.29 and 110.39 are exactly the same thing. It's just you got different sections because it's based on different voltage levels. Okay, so one's what, 1,000 volts or less, and the other one's over 1,000 volts. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, what I was telling my apprentice, the way the 2026 code, which I thought was kind of good, is it's split 3 directions now. It's split into high voltage, it's split into limited energy, and everything else. Mm-hmm. So that's basically the way the code is divided up now. And all we work on is everything else. But, we named this podcast High Voltage Live because we talk about high voltage right here in this illustration here. Pretty good illustration. Looks pretty legit. You got all the connectors in there and everything.
Yeah, we drew all those, the different connectors you'd look at. We show where you got the transformer and you got the pods and all of that stuff that's set up there. And when you get in and you look at this, basically it has a lot of the same information that's over in 110.14C.
Right.
Okay. So when you look at this and look at 110.40, this is where you're getting dealing with equipment that's rated over what? 1,000 volts. And it gets in and it talks about where you're connecting to these type MV conductors. And when you can go down, you got your general requirements and you got your terminals and your splices and all that. But then you get to D, that's where you pick up your temperature limitations. And when you pick up the equipment provisions for this, they're going to tell you it's based on the ampacity for those MV90 conductors, and that's going to be in your tables, which it's not 310.60 anymore. Now it's going to be table 315. There's going to be an article 315 you're going to look at. And you're going to, it'll still say 60, but it'll be table 315.60 and be C1 through C20. Okay. Gotcha. And that's what you're going to look at unless, of course, that equipment or that connector assembly is identified for use with other types of conductors, which would be like type MV105 or those would be another type of conductor you would look at there. And then they talk also about in those temperature limitations where you're dealing with these separate connector provisions, and they're going to tell you that they can be used here with conductors at the ampacities as long as they're not what? Exceeding the ampacity at the listed and identified temperature rating of the conductor or the connector. Okay. So
I got
one more thing. And there's one more thing that you have to do that was added in the last one is you also have to make sure that you apply the terminal connection torque.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. So I have a really funny story about like the picture that you have here. Mm-hmm. So we were, let's just pretend that we're calling this thing a sectionalizer. It looks kind of like a transformer to me, but we have these things called sectionalizers. They have boots similar to that in medium voltage, and like we're sitting there terminating them, we're doing all this stuff, and we're doing them all the same. And that's what I was always taught when we're out there is once you see one, you just copy it, you just do it the same, you know? Well, the guy comes out there and he's just madder than hell, you know? And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, your grounds are too short. And so I didn't understand. I was like, why does it matter? Like, isn't it better when they're too short? So he does the exact same thing as this gentleman here. He goes over there, gets all suited up like that, and he goes and grabs a shotgun stick and everything, and he goes and pulls as hard as he could on her boot, and the ground bottoms out and it doesn't clear. And he freaking jabs it back in and he walks away. Didn't even tell us nothing, didn't even say nothing, didn't even do nothing. Just went over there, suited up just like that. Exactly like that. Put on his heart, like, did everything you're supposed to do to come pull that boot. And so I'm like, man, I was like, I didn't really understand what happened there. I was like, you know, what was he trying to show us, you know? And he goes, yeah, he goes, anytime you're pulling those boots out on medium voltage, you're pulling an arc. And that ground's so short, it's not going to clear that arc. So you got to have that ground long enough to where he pulls that boot out far enough to where that ground's going to clear. Like, the boot has to be grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has to pull that shotgun stick to pull that boot out far enough to where he's going to clear that arc.
Yeah.
And then they have to discharge that line and everything like that after that to put it into electrically safe work condition. But that's what he was pissed off about. And I didn't realize that. And that's why it's cool to have illustrations like that, because you can see exactly what those guys are involved in when they're at that cabinet and they got those shotgun sticks and they're suited up. Like, I'm surprised that, you know, in that case, you know, it's really hard. I could tell, like, with, you know, illustration or everything, that you don't have a rescue hook there,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so that's, you know, some of the stuff that we're going to try to kind of illustrate a little bit more going forward is, you know, me and King James have been in these situations that we've actually seen, like, these guys are, like, you don't just, like, de-energize a plant while it's, you know, you can't just shut off a breaker. Like, you have to go over there with that shotgun stick and you have to pull all those leads. And so I came up with a really nice way to ground those boots to where they're grounded with a servant post.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the grounds kind of rotate, and it made it way easier.
Yeah.
And it was funny because that same guy came over there, pulled it, and you could see the ground bottomed out and couldn't clear the arc. And then, but it wasn't live. It was still dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were just doing a mock-up. But then I went and I did my idea, and we grounded them different, used a servant post, did all this stuff, and did them different, just made a splice to all of them, and did it different. And he came over there, he's like, bam, 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 and he's like, yep. And I was like, right on, man. I was like, that's cool, you know, and he was all happy. He's like, yep, that's the way it should be. I was like, right on, you know, and he did the same exact thing again. He went, he suited up, he got his freaking shotgun stick out there, went over there, grabbed him, bam, 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 and he's like, yep. Didn't even say a word. Just gave us thumbs up, grabbed his shotgun stick, went back in there, and we're like, all right. And we had like 40 of those to make up.
Yeah.
You know? So it was like, all right, we're going to do them all the same from now on. We had to go take all those ones that were too short, and we had to cut all the grounds, and we had to, like, put the servant post in, we had to re-splice them, we had to re-crimp them, and do them all the same. And so that whole entire plant to this day is all made up exactly the same way, the way we devised it and came up with. And, you know, it's pretty cool. But that guy taught me a lot, and you know who you are, and he taught me a lot. And
That's how you learn.
Yeah, I realized it, that the reason he was so mad is because I could see how you come out with a shotgun stick and you're trying to pull that thing real quick because it's like unplugging a plug real quick, and you want that arc to clear. And if that ground's too short, you bottom out on that ground. You're just sitting there just pulling an arc. You have to plug it back in real quick.
Yeah.
You know, and he showed me what happens, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, I don't want that to happen."
That's
I
right.
was like, "Okay," I was like, "Cool." So every single one, I made about 12 inches longer, and that 12 inches was enough for him to clear that arc. They do like it to bottom out, to where when you pull it out, it bottoms out and it's still grounded, but it's not too long, it's not too short.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that Goldilocks zone of ground length, and we got him there, so it was pretty cool. I was happy with that, doing that live. So good illustration. I really like that. It shows exactly what I saw firsthand in the field. So
that's why we draw 'em. All right, let's illustration of the week.
All right.
All right. So we got this is from our lightning protection for buildings and structures based on NFPA 780. And this one here is where you're basically going to get in and you start looking at the definition portion. And one of the things that I like about this illustration, it sort of breaks everything down in combination with 4.6. Okay, that's what I really want to get into, is looking at that portion, because this is where you get in and you're dealing with, we used to call them lightning down, but you'll see they use now, they'll say strike termination devices. And these are where they're on roofs. And basically, when you go look at 780, the first thing that they're going to tell you in 4.6 is they're going to talk about all the different type of roof types that you're going to deal with.
Well, I love that, how we actually have in our myth of the week, we actually covered the concrete encased electrode to light poles. And that's actually considered in, was it 780? You said?
Yeah, we went into 780 and did a few things.
It's considered a
there.
Structure.
That's right.
It's like, that was cool. I was like, whoa. I was like, Mike Holt's like, oh, you don't need that. Oh, that's so stupid. It's like, well, guess what? You might want to read 780 there, Mike Holt.
Yeah, and that's why I state so much. Dad and I, we deal with certain standards quite a bit. And I'll give y'all a good example of this. I remember my father-in-law's pretty well off, or ex-father-in-law. And he was having out at his lake house out at Possum Kingdom. They were doing lightning protection out on the building. I went out there and I was looking at it and I said, I don't think that's right. And he goes, oh, these guys, that's what they do for a living, blah, blah, blah. I'm a son-in-law, so I don't know nothing. And so anyway, they ended up having problems, grounding problems and everything else. And he asked me to come out there. And I went out there during the week, and we were looking at everything. We had engineers out there, had that company out there. I think they were called American Lightning Protection or something. And we were looking at it, and I was telling them everything they did wrong. And then I gave some things how to fix it. And they were arguing with me and everything. And my father, he goes, well, he said, he goes, apparently y'all are having problems, and I'm open to try something new to see if he's right or not. And a lot of it has to deal with, and you'll find this interesting because it has to deal with roof slopes. And when you get into the roof slopes, it's going to tell you what the slope is, and based on the slope, this is where you're getting in. You could have a pitched roof, a flat or gently sloping roof. He had dormers on there. You could have a roof where you had the ridges, chimneys, vents, things like that. There's a lot of stuff that you look at. And the first thing they didn't do correctly was setting the slope up right. And the way that you would do that is you would look at from the center and look at the full slope going out, and you would do the span. So as an example, say I had a slope that was 3 foot coming down to where the span was, and say the span was 12 foot. When you take the 12 foot divided into 3 foot, that'd give you a quarter slope. You see what I'm saying? So based on that slope is what you're going to get into. And
so you just calculated the slope when you went out there? Is that how you knew it wasn't right?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
it is. That's how I knew it wasn't right. It's true. And they tell you that when you're looking at that and you're looking at that pitched roof, that those pitched roofs, of course, are defined as roofs, but they're going to tell you that that's having a span set up there of more than 40 foot that has a slope of a quarter or greater. So that's why we had to set those strike termination devices on the roof a little bit different. So gotcha. That's how I was able to set that up. And then I said, you know, and my father-in-law, he owns Mueller Buildings, and they do steel buildings. And so I wrote a thing up for them because the type of roof they have is a slightly a very slight gently sloped roof on a lot of those. They got some that are higher, but we set it up based on what his pitches were. And if I said, now if you take and do one that's going to be considered flat or gently sloping, I said it can't exceed 24 inches. And I took them through, showed them everything. So when you got a slight roof like that and you're going across the top up there, they're going to tell you that your maximum spacing up there for those air terminals, they're going to tell you it's 20 to 25 foot maximum spacing. And then they tell you that that those air terminals have to be located within 24 inches of the ends of those ridges. Okay. Gotcha. So when you go in and you start looking at all these different things, this is going to tell you how you're going to set up these strike termination devices. Okay. Gotcha. So then when he got into a pitched roof, there was a lot of different things, calculations he had to do there. So I would tell him, I'd say, well, you have a pitched roof, and say you had a span of 100 foot or less. And I'd tell him, when you do that, those eave heights, they have to be greater or equal to 50 foot. And he was like, what do you mean? And I started laying it out. This is 50 foot going up. So you're good right there. But when you look at that, that's going to be equal to up to 50 foot, but they give you a range there, 50 to 150 foot above grade. And that's what you're looking at. And so when you had certain eaves and things like that were on the house, he didn't really need those termination devices. But where he had that tower, then he had to take and he had to set up these height things from where the eave is. And basically it's really interesting the way you do it. You basically take the pitch of the rope, and it's like you're looking at the building and you're drawing a circle out from there. Okay. And based on that circle that you're drawing out from it, based on the eave height there, that's how you determine where you're going to put those strike termination devices. So it's basically, they call it a rolling sphere method is how they make those determinations. So, you know, when you're looking at something like this and you're looking at this illustration, we show one that has a gently sloping roof here. And you'll see we talk about the terminal height has to be 10 inches to 24 inches. It can't exceed what? 50 foot. So you got a 50 foot maximum spacing for this. When you're looking at these, and then when we get into the spacing intervals, we tell you they have to be 20 foot. Right. So that's how we set this up, and we look at this so people can follow this, and then we tell you what the pitch was. It was a quarter inch or greater, or it's more than 40 foot, the span. Okay. So that's how you go and determine this stuff. I'll just say this: if you hadn't dealt with this stuff before, it's not for the faint of heart. You really got to know exactly what you're getting into. And then we tell you, we put a note in here with some extra information so you can understand, and we tie it in with another figure here. Actually, we do with 2 figures here, and we tell you each structure shall have at least what? 2 grounding electrodes and grounding conductors spaced as far apart as possible.
True.
Now, why would we tell you as far apart as possible? Because when you get a lightning strike, it has to be able to what? Dissipate. So what happens in this, you see, we show the down conductors on the corners, but what they'll really do is they'll take and put these down conductors, and then they'll come across with all this, and they'll use a national electrical code, and they'll put a ground ring in. And then from that ground ring, they'll come down and they'll tie it into their service. In other words, they're putting everything at what? An equipotential plane. That's right.
1 point.
1 point to an equipotential plane around the building.
1 point. 1 point. 1 point. Always 1 point.
How many times have you heard me say 1 point on here?
A lot.
All right. I got one more thing.
I just wanted to say this is not the rolling forklift there, Daniel.
All right. I did a calculation a week. This is for a track load. And when you go look at 220.46B, and I actually did this when I put this together. This was actually on the 2023. It's not on the 2026 because we're not there yet. I guess you'd say.
Did it move to 120?
Yeah, it moved to 120. That's why I'm saying it's 46B.
Gotcha. Okay.
And when you go over there and you look at 46B, it gets into your track lighting. And this is where you're doing the track lighting load and you're calculating for a service. And what it tells you, where you have track lighting, and other than dwelling units or guest rooms or guest suites of your hotels and motels and stuff, it tells you that you're required to put an additional load of 150 volt amperes. And this is included for every what? 2 foot of lighting track or fraction thereof. Okay?
Yeah,
so
I'm not agreeing with this one. Like, to me, honestly, like, this stuff's got to get backed off for LED. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but
LED,
these are the kind of sections that I think are just dinosaurs in the National Electric Code.
Yeah, but they have to keep it in there because people still have this lighting track that they may want to use instead of LED. And when you look at this, we're going to show you 2 calculations for continuous and non-continuous where you have 80 foot of lighting track. So where it's talking about the lighting track and it says 150 volt amperes shall be included for every 2 foot of lighting track. Okay. So what you're going to do, you're going to take that 80 foot, divide it by 2, then add the 150 VA to it. Very simple calculation. And that'll give you 6,000 VA. Same calculation, but if it's continuous, you just put 125% on it, and that gives you 7,500 VA. Very simple to go through. It's a simple calculation. You just have to know when you're reading that section, it's a fraction thereof every 2 foot. So you got to divide in to whatever the length of the lighting track is.
So, question for you, like, what would constitute, like, isn't all lighting continuous?
No.
I mean, I know it doesn't run at full load for 3 hours or more, but if I have energy management, can I say it's not continuous?
You can calculate it all at continuous if you want, but not all lighting is considered continuous.
If you have lighting control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have lighting control,
they know exactly what they have. I mean, there's a lot of them. They'll set up and say, nobody works here at night, but they may take a conference room and calculate it at continuous, knowing nobody's going to be in the office. You know what I mean? And they got light all around and stuff, and they just don't calculate it. I've seen them do that before. But in my opinion, I would say you need to calculate it at 125%, but just to automatically just say it's all required, can't do that.
True. Yeah. No, I like that. That's really cool. And you guys will realize that King James, when you do his calculations and they ask you a question, you have that confidence you're going to get the right answer every time. I love that. It means a lot to me. Like when I went and took my test for NISAT 2, Ohm's Law, all this stuff we do on the podcast every week, just...
And I'll say this, shout out to all the people. There's a lot of people. It seems like what I'm learning is I have more people that come on to the learning management system, and they're more interested in the online stuff, not the online publications. And I think what everybody likes is they want to be able to come in and be able to work problems and have it fully interactive, click through the sections and all that. And coming by we'll have a lot of stuff come summer, but by the next summer, y'all are going to see a ton of stuff on there that you can go purchase. You can just do the publications, the online classes. I got all kinds of packages. I mean, it's going to be incredible, the things we're going to provide to the industry. So,
well, I was trying to get King James to do like a post like every week on like my group and do like a calculation post every week. And I think you did it like a few times, but dude, it was so amazing because every time you did it, everyone learned. Everyone was like, whoa, I never saw that before. Whoa, and it was so cool, but it's like, he's so busy and he doesn't have time to do all that stuff. But it was so cool because you actually put it together the way you wanted it. And it just crushed. Like, it just was like, it knocked every educator out of the park. Like, because you just had that way of having you go through it step by step. I never knew how to do like multiple different conductors and go to the circular mills and figure out what size nipple you need. Like, the way you did that was awesome. Like, dude, you instantly hooked me as far as like, oh yeah, dude, that's how you do it, But it's funny because now I could teach it to my apprentice. I'd be like, hey, how many number 12s can you fit in that 3/4? He'd be like, probably like 8. What? Dude, Billy Jackerson fit 25 in there, But the whole thing is, like, we go and actually do the calculation and we figure out, oh, wow, that's 65%. That's over the nipple limit, Whatever. But it's really fun because you have this practical application to the math. It's not just like this, random, us just, doing weird calculations that have no relevance in the trade world, because you have to know this, like, and you're like, hey, I think I remember I reached out to you and I was like, yeah, we have to put like 26 number 16s in a 3/4 or something. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was. But you were like, oh, yeah, you can do that. And we actually had all the math to support it. We went through, calculated it, and it was good to go, So it was really cool because we calculated together. It was like after one of the shows or something. And you're like, oh, yeah, that conductor size is this, and then you have this, and we calculate it like that. And so. And
for y'all that are watching, just go right here. Go to Stock Up Education at loanworlds.com. Go there, check it out. I have a free class on there right now for designing wiring methods on the 2023, where you can actually go in, work the problems, and let me tell you how it works. So when y'all go over there, you'll open up the online course, you'll come down to the illustration, and anywhere where we have those blanks, just hover above it, click, fill in the values, and work it. Then there's an answer key below, and then below that, I also have a video explaining it. So,
and just so everyone knows, that was my idea to fill in the blanks. I said from day one, I was like, you should just have a thing to fill in the blanks, and you listen to me. So
I'm gonna say this: it took me a while to figure out how to make all that work, and I actually had to write code for that. And now I don't have to. Well, the thing is, now I don't have to write code. They actually have incorporated, because I sent it over to them. I'd like to have this in there. And then for the state license, I've actually figured out, and I had to write the code. I actually used Gemini to help me write some of it till we figured it out. It was probably I think we did like 14 variations before we got it to work right. So it recognized within the program. And I had to write a little bit of the code myself to figure out how to do it. But getting the timer on there. So now we're able to put a timer after each little part and take it all the way down. So when I say it's when you go work on the program, it looks simplistic. That is the best way to describe it. But the amount of work that's in the back end of that, there isn't any other programs out there that have that kind of back end technology that's put into it to allow you to do all the things that we're allowing you to do on those courses.
So, do you think that you'd be approved for the state of Colorado by like May, possibly?
I'm trying. I'm in
Okay.
chapter 2 right now. I'm thinking,
Nice.
I'm hoping by April, I'm getting pretty close to having enough for 24 hours. And then probably what I'll do is start getting approval with the states. And once I start getting approval, I'll be working on the other. Even as you go in and you take the course, it'll probably come in after you take the course, but I will come in and load the whole course up for you that you'll have access to after the fact.
So, how long does it typically take to get approval from a state? Like post COVID, I guess. Because I remember you tried with COVID, didn't you? Or...
COVID, I couldn't even get anybody to answer, but usually I'd have it within a month to 2.
Okay.
I'm hoping by summer I have everything
Cool.
shipped up, ready to go. And
Yeah. So all you people out there that's asking me about the continuing education, it's coming. I'd say June. June
coming.
area.
It's coming.
Something in there.
All right, ready
May,
for
June.
tool of the week?
There we go. Let's do it.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
Yeah, so this tool this week, somebody let me borrow this thing, and dude, it was really sweet. All I had to do was just put a cutting wheel on there, and I just cut bolt right off. Like, dude, super easy, super simple. I never would have thought this. A lot of this time we'd use like these die grinders and stuff in like automotive and really precision tool, like really sweet. Like you could just go in there with that cutting wheel and you just cut whatever you want. And it's just really precision. You can't get a bandsaw in there. You can't get a sawzall in there. You get a sawzall in there, it's just jarring the whole unistrut around everywhere. But you get this thing in there, nothing moves. You just go in there, just cut that bolt head off. Boom, everything comes loose. Really sweet. I mean, this is one of the better new products that I've seen from DeWalt, and definitely going into my toolbox at some point. I don't know when exactly I will have money for this kind of really sweet tool, but this is gonna be like, basically it's like the electrician's torch. You put that die grinder wheel on there, and you could basically just cut anything you want right there in place. Pretty awesome. I mean, when it comes to new tools that's out now, this is one of the ones that I'm looking at. You have like a high-speed wheel that can go in there, grind that bolt head off like quick as heck. You could cut strut in half. You could cut pipe in half. You could cut any kind of metal you want. Wear safety glasses, or else blame King James because he didn't say anything about OSHA on this one. But you know, like, honestly, that's one of the coolest tools that I've came across this year. And like I say, the minute that I could get like a deal on it, because that's usually why I try to do these tool reviews, is because there's deals coming up. I think there's going to be a deal coming on that, and it's the DeWalt die grinder, and I love it. I love die grinders. I really want one in my arsenal. That's probably gonna be my go-to. Is a die grinder, and I'll pretty much be precision. Like what you could do too, a lot of guys don't realize. You take that die grinder and you could like cut the bolt like right through the middle of the bolt. You can make like an X, and then you could just go and hit it with your hammer. It'll just explode into a million pieces. You know,
Give a
you
shout
don't
out
have
to give a shout out to Rumble. We got 19 over there.
really 19. Go Rumble, yeah,
Yep.
baby.
Yep.
Yeah, loving Rumble, man. What do you call that? The green side, the purple side? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to the Rumble side. I'll call it the green side.
All right, let's gotta do man versus machine. Let's see what you got this week.
Gotcha.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
I think I might get AI this week. I might. This
Let's
is
see.
tricky. This is tricky.
Oh, metal wireways. Yeah. That's going to be over in 376 when you're dealing with wireways, and since it's securing and supporting, that'll be 376.30. I think the A deals with the horizontal support and B is the vertical support. So this horizontal, so this will be A. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this will be C, 5 foot, 5 foot, and 10 foot. So that's what I'm going with.
We will see. We will see.
Let's go with.
I would like to see how ChatGPT answers.
I'm about to go over there. Let's go to chat.
Okay.
There we go. All right. And then I'll take and increase this a little bit where everybody can see it. All right.
Nice.
Now, let's see what it says. Oh, it got it. It got it. 376.30. Let me go over there. It should be 30A. I've already got it open because I was looking a while ago at 780. Let me go over and go to the 2026.
Oh, you were cheating, huh?
Well, I was in NFPA 780 when I was looking that up.
Okay.
And go over here. Okay, 376.30A. Yep. Okay, I was right on the section. I didn't think I was wrong on that.
Yeah,
And
because you were cheating.
You
You admitted you were cheating. You were in there earlier cheating.
That is absolutely absolutely correct. Chat GPT. Great job. Save this in the master.
Dude, I'm telling you, that master log is
Master
getting,
log.
That master log is getting
King
good.
James was also correct. All right, there we go. That GPT took it down.
Yeah.
Let's see, added to the mastery log. Yeah. Oh, it says I remain undefeated. It's getting used to it.
All right.
It's saying, yeah, I can't hang with him. He's too good.
Yeah, that is actually true.
All right. The moment everybody's been waiting for. The Willie Quiz. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun.
Dude, it was so funny when Adam named me that. You were like, "Oh, I want to see your workout video." Like, what? Who
Yeah,
does that?
got to
Weird.
see it.
So weird. All right, question number 1. Which franchise has the most or has the best Super Bowl winning percentage among teams with at least 4 appearances? Is it A, the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is it B, the San Francisco 49ers? Is it C, the New York Giants? Is it D, the Dallas Cowboys? Or is it E, the New England Patriots? Good luck, everyone.
Well, my first mind went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know they they've been in there like 8 times. I think they only lost like 2 or 3 games. The other one I was thinking about. Okay, I was
Ooh, is
right.
Daniel picking A?
That's who I went with.
Daniel's picking A?
Yeah, I think there at that one time, the steel curtain and everything, they pretty much won every Super Bowl they went to.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I was right.
Man, Pittsburgh Steelers, huh? All right. Well, let's see. Question number 1. The answer is B. San Francisco 49ers at
Really?
5-0, and Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, are at 3-2. As far as winning percentage.
I did not know that. Okay.
All right. So, which Super Bowl had the largest margin of victory in NFL history? Was it A, Super Bowl 24? Was it B, Super Bowl 20? Was it C, Super Bowl 38? Or whatever?
27.
27. Was it D, Super Bowl
That's
20?
7. That's one I was looking at. I thought you were
Yeah,
there.
20, yeah. E, Super Bowl 22. Good luck, everyone.
This one I'm not really sure on. I was thinking because we just had Super Bowl 60,
60.
right?
Yep.
So you had 60. So I'm assuming it had to be at least 40 years ago. I was thinking the biggest one. I think the second was the Cowboys when they played the Bills. I think the first one was Denver. But I don't remember what Super Bowl it was. I'm thinking back. That would have been, so if you're looking,
Yeah,
that's about 36 years ago.
So
from the
Super Bowl
24,
20, Super Bowl 20 was the Bears and Patriots, 1986. That was Super Bowl 20.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at, was right around that time. So if you take, you're taking 30. I'm just trying to add up. So you would have to be about mid 80s for that. So I'll go with 24. Yeah, that's when Denver was in, about the mid 80s. So I'll go with Super Bowl 24. That sounds close to me. I'm between 24 and 27, but I think it was more mid. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of hard to pin down a deficit that was like worse than that.
Yeah, wasn't it like 55 to something? Denver
55-10.
10,
Yeah,
yeah, 55.
I'll never forget it. I was coming back. We were doing a ski trip, and I was coming back, and yeah, it was pretty rough. It was
Well,
not.
Daniel not even going to answer on this one.
I don't know. He sounds like he's ghosting out. Maybe.
He's unsure too. I'm just going off sort of uh, about when I thought they were, because I remember the second one was when didn't they beat the Bills like 52-17 or something? Dallas did.
Oh, dude! Now you could copy Daniel. Now you can copy Daniel. We have one good correct answer
Wow,
tonight.
I was
It
right.
was Super Bowl 24, 55-10, Denver Broncos.
So it was about when I said it was like mid 80s, just like I thought.
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say it was like 87, maybe 86. Or no, 86 was the Bears, so I would say probably 88, 89, somewhere in there. All right. So who holds the record for the most career Super Bowl touchdown passes? As I'm doing it before the Super Bowl, which like none
Before
of the.
this one that just happened.
Yeah, I don't think that any of the quarterbacks really had
No.
any touchdowns anyway, so doesn't matter. Is it A, Joe Montana, B, Terry Bradshaw, C, Tom Brady, D, Peyton Manning, or E, Troy Aikman? Good luck, everyone.
Well,
See, I was a little worried about putting in the Super Bowl LX because you would be like, Sam Darnold? I thought you might just go the current one.
I'm
but
going
I
with
was
the one that's played more than any of them, which is the GOAT, Tom Brady. I don't know if it's correct. I'm not sure of this one, but he played more than any of them. So I think as many as he played in, I think he's played more than any of them, I think. And he played in a pass offense, too. Okay, so he's going Tom Brady, yeah.
Yeah, you're
That's
going
what
to
I
just
think.
copy Daniel. Just keep copying Daniel. That's fine.
Yeah.
Two correct answers tonight, so pretty awesome. This is a really fun one. I really love doing this kind of quiz thing where we're talking about which team lost the most Super Bowls before they actually won one. Was it A, the Denver Broncos? Was it B, the Kansas City Chiefs? Was it C, the New Orleans Saints? Was it D, the Seattle Seahawks? Or was it E, the New York Giants? Good luck, everyone.
Well, I'm going to go. I just saw the special on Netflix with John Elway, and he lost a whole bunch of them before they got there and finally won one. So I'm going to go with Denver because they lost like 4 in a row, didn't they, before they finally won one?
No, it was 3.
3.
So they lost to the Giants, then they lost to San Fran, and they lost to Washington.
Yeah, Washington kicked the hell out of them.
Well, not really. Like, it was the only problem was they had their backup quarterback Doug Williams, but Daniel's gonna go with Denver Broncos, huh? All right, we'll see if King James decides to copy you. And we have 3 correct answers so far. So far, we are tied up. All right, going to question number 5. What Super Bowl holds the record for the most total combined points scored? Is it A, Super Bowl 20? Is it B, Super Bowl 24? Is it C, Super Bowl blah blah blah? Is it D, Super Bowl XX
34.
34? Is it E, Super Bowl
It's definitely not E.
60? Not E. All right, good luck, everyone.
Well, I'm between B and D. I'm not 100% sure on this. Man, this is a tough one here.
What is that? 20?
29.
Like B is 29, and then D is what? 34?
Looking at that, I think if
Or 30.
you got 29, you got 34 for D. The E is 55, and
So B is 39, isn't it?
D is 39. Yeah, that I do know. And I was trying to think about that one. That game there, if I remember,
Daniel's taking B. What was B? Was that Rams?
39. I was trying to think. I think the 49ers were in that, and I was trying to remember who they were playing.
Was it Eagles?
No, I think it was was it the Rams or Chargers? One of those.
30. Oh yeah, 39.
Yeah, because the score was like, if I'm not mistaken, San Francisco almost scored 50 points, but the Chargers, they scored almost like 30 points or something like that. But I think that's the right bowl. I'm trying to think the last time they were there, and it would have been at the late 80s. So, in early 90s, it had to be somewhere right in there, because that was at the time that Dallas was starting to get good, and it become a big thing about Dallas and San Francisco playing each other. So I think it was right in that area right there. So I'll go B. That sounds
all right.
familiar.
So sure, Daniel will make this about a biased Dallas Cowboys podcast.
Well, I just go off things that I know, and try to disseminate from that point on.
Man, I think I'm gonna have to go upstairs on this one. Like, I don't know, man. You could be right. I don't know, man. I just man. It's
Well,
weird.
either way, we're gonna be tied.
Man, to me, honestly, I just need to get clarification on this. I want to say that. So you you guys pick B.
Yeah.
I want to say that the answer is either C or D, possibly. But let me see. Let me see. What is that? What is that question? Holds the record for the most.
Oh, I'll look it up.
Let me see.
Which Super Bowl?
I want to say.
I
want to say it was Eagles.
The most
Niners
scored.
Eagles Niners.
Here we
I
go.
want to say it was C.
It was 75 points, and it was between the San Francisco 49ers and the Chargers. So it says Super Bowl 29.
Oh, so it's B.
Yeah, it's B.
All right. Boom. All right.
Just checked it.
Oh, correct answer. All right. Boom.
So 4 or 5 each. What's going to be the tiebreaker?
All right. We got the tiebreaker. All right. Going into tiebreaker mode. All right. This is hot. All right. So, from all the Super Bowls, from Super Bowl 1 all the way to Super Bowl 60, closest guess, what is the total combined points from all teams from the first Super Bowl till now?
Oh, I guess if I was going to have, you got 60 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take 60 Super Bowls and you added them all up, I would say, let me get out my calculator here. That's the way I'm going to figure this out.
Feel free. It's an open calculator tiebreaker quiz. Feel free to break out your calculator.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just sort of adding up what thou did. So if you basically, I would say you would take an average of probably, I would say an average of about 30 points would sound right to me. So if I take 30 times 60, I'll go with 1,800 points.
All right. King James locks in 1,800. Daniel goes 25. Oh, 2,500. Oh, man. Oh, he sounds high on that one. Daniel wins! Daniel got his 2760. So
God, they averaged 40 points a game for every Super Bowl?
Yep.
Because I would have thought they would be even, let's see, 40 times 60. So that's more than 40 points a game.
It's combined, though.
Yeah, combined.
Between both teams.
That's what I was going with.
Because
if you take earlier Super Bowls, I would have thought those games, because they were running the ball and stuff, I would have thought those games would have been probably less than 20-point games.
Dude, you might want to go look out your window because Daniel is doing burnouts in your driveway right now because you just got smoked on the Willie Quiz by Daniel with the tiebreaker.
I can't believe I finally lost.
Oh, dude, you finally lost. Like, Daniel's like...
I thought I had a great answer right there. I was like, that's actually a thought-out answer, averaging 30 points.
Yeah.
And
well, there's been 60 freaking Super Bowls, and some have been high scoring, so...
Yeah, even with the high scoring, I thought it would offset.
Oh, it does. It offset it to you lose it.
I mean, you're basically saying if you took 60 times 45, let's say. So basically, you're saying every Super Bowl averaged 45 points a game average. I bet there's a lot of people wouldn't have guessed that.
Especially not you.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have thought that.
All right. Well, good job, Daniel. Dude, Daniel had to get redemption from his Rome one, where we're like, how many years did it take to build Rome? And Daniel said 800 years. And King James will never let him live that down.
Well, at least I didn't come up with that.
Yeah, so it's like closest guess without going over. Daniel did a great job going 2,500 and not going over. Going over would have been over 2,700. But I think I even did a calculation all the way through the latest Super Bowl. I think it was like 2,760 or something.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Good guess, Daniel. And like I say, that's what makes us all good is that Daniel smokes King James, and King James is not happy about it. But it's all good. We just got one little thing left to do.
Wall
and
shake.
he could just do, you know. And,
I'm good at that. Screw that.
Shame. 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 Shame.
dude, you will love this. Like when I saw this, I was like, "What is going on here?" Like,
Let's see.
so weird, man. Like, I don't know, like the meters up, like really high up there,
Yeah, no kidding. I
And-
see that.
and then they got like branch circuits like tapped onto the overhead, like going into the weatherhead, going in, you know, like they're tapping ahead of the meter or something. Like, I was just like, wow. So they got like a bunch of number 12s like tapped into the, you know, meter ahead of that weatherhead that's going in, like probably passing through the meter.
Wow.
But I don't know. To me, if you ask me, like I saw that, I was like, it looks like a grow house to me. They got like some kind of piping coming in with, you know, like some kind of environmental.
That is wild looking.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they're doing there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to increase so I can see what they got. It does not make any sense whatsoever what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, the thing right away that I saw was that meter's like so high.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
I think that meter should have been like down lower, but you know, it's just like these guys, you know, they're trying to be like inconspicuous when they have
That's
these
something
kind of
else.
places, and well, it is what it is. But dude, I had so much fun tonight, dude. So much fun. Oh, dude, we're over 2 hours already. Like,
We're almost
already
2.5.
Yeah. But it's so much fun. Thanks so much, Daniel, for joining. I had a blast, you know, got Daniel's special. Dude, Daniel's like, anytime James loses to me, just play this song. I'm like, alright. Anytime Weedman shows up. You know, like, dude, it's so universal, you know, it's so cool. You know,
That audio's not for me. That's for Paul Abernathy.
Oh, dude, you heard it. You heard it. He goes, and then what does he do? He takes my whole entire podcast and he puts this behind it. And I was like, really? I was like, you're mad about that?
Yeah,
You know?
he's upset about a lot of things.
Yeah. No. The number one thing he's upset against is that you don't pick better friends to associate with.
Yeah, I know.
And so that is me.
All my friends are idiots, morons, and everything else.
The thing is that it's a true honor to be called Billy Ball Cups, and you know what I mean. Like, it's all good. Like, you know, they've been calling me that forever, and it's just so funny that we just clown them all the time, and we just have a good time on this podcast, and just, you know, bring you guys the heat, bring you guys the pain, the power, the Willie Quiz, and dude. Daniel, dude, thanks so much for joining, Daniel, dude. It's so funny, man. And yeah, dude,
Yeah.
Daniel does it.
Yeah, I love it.
So funny. Dude, appreciate you coming in, joining Daniel. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for your participation in our group. Dude, we're at 58,000 now.
I know.
And, you know, electrical
Be at
coach
60
discussion
before
for
you know
awesome. Yeah, so almost there. We said we were going to crush the ECD boys. We did it. We crushed them.
Sure did.
And, you know, we said it when we started this podcast. We're like, we're gonna surpass them, and not only did we surpass them by like 20,000.
Did it twice. You had
Oh,
our other
yeah.
group removed. And we
Yeah.
know it was y'all that sent it in saying, oh, they're using NEC for dummies and you can't do that. That's
Mhm.
copyright infringement, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. I mean, it just, just a bunch of crybabies. And that's okay. We pass you
Yeah.
again. You go ahead.
Dude.
They'll try to get this and deleted too.
Just like you said, we're the freaking Trump of the electrical industry, and we're gonna bring you guys the truth. We don't care if you like it or not. You
Right.
liberals, you better watch out because we're just bringing the heat, we're bringing the power, bringing the pain, and we're bringing the truth. And it doesn't matter if you like it or not.
Right.
You're going down,
We're bringing
and
it. And we're
like
going to
I
tell you
said,
and show you where it says it too. And
King James, an expert in electrical safety, and like I say, you guys want to sit there and say, "Oh, you're bringing down the electrical industry because you're reducing safety." Well, guess what? We already know the truth on what safety is, and that's why we're bringing you this podcast. And we cannot wait for Code Making Panel 2 and the Standards Council to transcribe this podcast for 2029. We're going to have a bunch in there. We're going to have a bunch of public inputs that are going in. And all you guys out there, we look forward to seeing your public input on the code standards and the codes that you do not like in the NEC. Submit them and put them out there and do like I did. Delete 625.4. Qualified persons needs to be deleted. Down.
bam.
So, as always, remember, make every day an easy day. I'm done. I'm out.
Me too. Everybody have a good weekend. Peace.